going to do some readjustments here because I had to move some stuff around, reuse my webcam for something else. And we'll give... Already, I can't believe it, 3 people already joined. That's insane. And my camera is working. Good. I've been, I had to readjust everything. I've got, my exciting news is that I was contacted about a month and a half ago asking if I wanted to do reviews of third-party building block designs that are medieval in nature. And I just got the package for the set. I won't build it on stream. I'll actually build it separately and do a proper review and publish video of it. But one of the craziest things to probably ever occur was it was the same week I did the rebranding. Basically, was when someone reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do it. And I have to imagine the rebranding was not on their mind. They probably thought, well in advance that they would reach out to people who had medieval type channels and see if they were interested. So I'm really looking forward to doing that and actually doing a proper video review. But I am also happy to get back to building this castle. I was very sick with like a really bad head cold for like 2 days, and I had to help my family move some heavy objects around over long distances. So very suddenly last week kind of evaporated for me, and I just didn't get a chance to do much live streaming. But I can pull my castle back over, and we have, it's 26 bags in total. We're on bag 21. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 3 total live streams away from completing it. It's crazy to believe how many that is. It's like 15 live streams total. So I'm trying to be better about consistency on actually doing streams. One of the measures of success for live streaming is to be consistent. And at some point, I'm going to go back and clip parts to actually do just kind of like quick videos on. So we will set the parts out, get started here. And I think after I'm done with the castle, I will do some more of the design work on stream, and I need to spend some time getting custom emotes and things set up for this live stream channel as well. So that's a thing I should do. All right. Kind of randomly came across another streamer doing Lego builds, someone who that is kind of a thing they do on Twitch, and was kind of looking at how he had his camera set up, and it was almost exactly the same. Your wife and you are driving, just left the Grand Canyon. Ooh, the Grand Canyon is on my bucket list. I've never been there. I've flown over it so many times, and every time I fly over it, it's usually the daytime, and I kind of stare out the window wishing I could be at ground level for it. It's an amazing sight at 20,000 feet in the air as well, but it's something I would love to go see in person. I want to get a travel trailer, and both in retirement as well as just for vacation, going and exploring with that kind of thing and go camping and all the rest of it. Well, be safe driving. I guess you're going to mostly listen to me. I don't know that's the best listening experience. You're probably better off putting on some good music, but hello to the entire family. I hope you're enjoying your trip. let's see here. Turn this thing so I can see what I'm doing. Yes. I feel like the most ideal view would be like an over-the-shoulder view. And I'm wondering if I should suspend a camera from like the ceiling or get a C-stand or something that I can do that with. It's just I feel like I'd block it constantly that way. But I am really looking forward to doing the video review. It's kind of... I thought about doing this castle as my first kind of building block, you know, Lego obviously, but just generically a building block type theme review, and I didn't think it'd be a good first one. But because I was given the option to do a review for one that there probably isn't a ton of already on YouTube, and it's still medieval in nature, even though it's not Lego, it's a generic brand. I'm really looking forward to it. Alright, let's get all this stuff placed. I started doing some research on well pumps, kind of echoing back to a conversation that was had a few weeks ago now about my challenges of trying to utilize creek water for watering beds. I think there are some good options there, and I think a solar-powered pump is probably going to be my best bet at this point. Still require me to kind of get down to that creek bed and maybe dig a little bit of a deeper well spot and maybe line it with some stones or something, but I think it's going to be my best option after having looked into it. So I think that conversation and some of the ideas that were thrown out have really benefited my thinking about how to solve that problem. And I've been mulling over how I want to do my garden for next year as well. It was kind of actually one of my long drives with my father as we were carting a tiller and a wood chipper around, was about gardens and food bearing plants and plans for that, because he was helping me out with a lot of the creek water options. And that was kind of where we landed on, was, yeah, that pump might be the best option. And I was telling him that my experiences up to this point with having done some gardening and grown some plants, that I much prefer plants that are fruit bearing over ones that are vegetable bearing. This is a weird technique. For posterity's sake, let's show what this is doing. It's really weird. Alright, so right here we have these little come on, focus. We have these little arch pieces, and we're putting them upside down in this little these are called panel pieces. Putting it upside down on that panel piece like this. I have no idea what we're going to do with that, but that's pretty interesting. And it's going to get held in place by these decorative pieces. That's interesting. Very unique technique that I will have to kind of remember to use that panel to turn things upside down. It's one of the biggest problems with Lego is that there's not an easy way to kind of flip things. You have to do these kind of really roundabout or complex things, and you end up adding a lot of thickness to whatever you're doing. I'd argue there's generic bricks have this type of piece, whether it's Mega Blocks or some of the Chinese brands. They have these techniques that are these pieces that allow for an inverting technique in a very narrow margin, so you can do some really interesting, complicated things you can't do in Lego. It's one of the few areas where I think generic blocks actually might have an edge sometimes. Right. And my goal for live streaming is try to get that design for my drive-in theater done mostly on stream. I've done a lot of work on it over the past couple weeks in kind of the off time, the rare times where I'm not on stream and I'm not working and not dealing with kids. I've been kind of poking at it and making minor adjustments to everything, and it's really coming together. I want to finish it on stream, and then I'm going to try to get it more or less refined enough that I feel like I can upload it to Rebrickable, and maybe start doing more like community things like that, building up a library of things that that I can share online. Don't forget to check the water for chemicals so you know if you need to distill and not just filter. Good point. I can tell you that this, for what it's worth, not knowing a ton about the state of the water, I can tell you that it is fed from a lake source, or more like a pond source that's just upstream of it, and it feeds into a pond that's just downstream, both of which, as far as I know, are used for fishing and maintain pretty good fishing spots. So I don't think it's super heavy chemically laden, but that you can never truly know. So it is a very well taken point that it's something I should probably make sure I'm paying attention to. And I'm thinking more as well about some of the video projects I want to do, just in general. I've always got my litany of things that I want to do a video of or do a video for, and a lot less of them are YouTube styled and much more entertainment driven that I have never done really before. So it's going to be about finding time to do them, but I'm starting to build that list back up, and that's how I did it before. Is I would have a pretty extensive list. I'd be planning 5 to 10 videos out so that I knew what I'd potentially be working on months down the line. And as I kind of solidify my thoughts on which ones I'm going to go do, I will start working on them, which of course means less live streaming as well, because this is prime time to do B-roll and all the rest of it. The biggest challenge is finding a time of day where I can sit down and actually record myself or record audio or whatever I need to do. Because I'm not going to do that when there are kids around. It's a little bit harder to do at night because, I can, but there's always noises around. And of course during the day I'm working, so But this would be the most likely candidate of time, would just be to come up here and do some voiceover recording or the rest. One of the projects that I really want to do, if I want to do it right, I'm going to have to like hire some voice actors to do some voiceovers where there's not already voice actors doing such things, to be as vague as possible. But that's one of those passion project things. Like, I wouldn't expect high view count out of it, but I would do it because I want to make it as a product from like an artistic standpoint. Lawn fertilizer, yeah. That's certainly going to be a problem around where I live, Wyoming. Lawn fertilizer is, I'm sure, used all over the place because it's a lot of runoff. I also live in a farming area, so you get general fertilizer. I'll just have to see. You're right, maybe distilling is going to be necessary. I don't know. I'm sure I could get down there and take a sample of the water and test it well before I do any of this as well. So... the real question is, Wyoming, are you driving? I hope you're not driving right now. Chatting to me on a live stream while you're driving down the road. I hope that's not the case. Hope your wife is driving. Sure what this mechanism is. I think it must drive the drawbridge at some point. This is a unique piece that I've never seen before either. A weird U-shaped piece. It's like a 2x3 with a middle stud cut out of it. I'm not sure. That might be new this year. I don't even know. I'm sure it has a very limited use. I mean, you can kind of recreate it using other things, so curious. This says, I've spent more time than I care to admit in this room. Now, if only I was able to sit down, could I really put it to a proper use? I think I'm making a water closet here. Pretty sure I just made a toilet seat and I have a roll of toilet paper here. Goodness. Yeah, every once in a while I drop a piece and it goes flying. And that one definitely went flying. There it is. I think this is going to be the... I'm not sure what this is going to be. Looks like part of a gate. Maybe it's half a portcullis. I don't know. That's what this crank is for. It controls this gate. Perfect. That's really cool. Get this camera back out. So we can zoom in on this gate. Show this off. So yeah, you have this gate and you have a crank that'll lift it. So there's kind of like a, it's like a quasi portcullis. Not quite really, because it's not sitting as the main gate, but it's the entrance, at least in part, to this castle. It's interesting. Or it's an entrance to this castle. Just need one of these, okay. I also got an early start doing this tonight. I wanted to kind of dive in. I needed to update OBS, so I was already up here getting things set up. I didn't know how long the update would take, but with it done, I figured I'd go ahead and start the stream. Try to get this knocked out. Go finish up another build I have going downstairs and begin working on that review build. I'm using a lot of pieces in this step. Set that there. So I got these stone type pieces. I think it was supposed to be kind of B. And they're right next to these murder holes, which is pretty cool. And then there's this little sprig of greens that are hanging in the water closet area. So that kind of makes sense. These large stones will come in handy. We can drop them through the... Oh, wow. I can't read what that says. I gotta zoom in. It's a long word, whatever it is. Machicolations. Should the dragon army ever approach our back gate? So yes, they're good old murder holes. That's what you want to see in a Lego build. There it is. Well, it's not just everyone being quiet. Well, there are more viewers now. For a while, it was just you and me, Wyoming. So I'm being a little bit quiet. I'm focusing more on the build because there isn't a lot of chatting going on. But maybe someone will kick off a conversation. And we'll see. I've been waiting to hear what the outcome of thoughts are on the Lord of the Rings show, to know whether or not I'm going to watch it or give it a shot. I'm not hearing good things, and I'm not hearing good things from a variety of sources at this point. I don't want to take just reactionary opinions on it, but I'm hearing that Durin, the character, the Dwarf King, is a fun character, and that's about as far as most people are willing to go, which seems a little bit sad. It's been very hard to kind of figure out what the actual quality of the show is through all the noise, as it were. It sucks. Okay, good to know. Yeah, what? Okay, let me ask you this, Wyoming. How many episodes have you seen? Are you completely caught up on it? And then secondarily, not does it suck. It's not. What are the good aspects? And I don't mean that from like, oh, the visuals are nice. I would like to know from a writing and storytelling perspective, what are the good aspects? Because I feel like that's the area that's going to suffer the most. And like I said, from a writing and story and characterization standpoint, Durin is supposed to be a lot of fun. But I'm not hearing good things otherwise. And I'm very curious what some of the additional thoughts could be. Like I said, life is too short for me to invest time in something that I know I'm not going to like. And I've been very curious what some of the feedback has been. The only moderately glowing review that I've heard from a fairly reliable reviewer is Chris Stuckman. And I don't, my tastes don't always align with his, but at least I know that he's going to give his honest opinion. But his problem is he has zero knowledge of Tolkien lore. The best statement he can make is, I really liked the movies back in, I really liked the Peter Jackson movies. They were really good. And so it's kind of hard to know, like, his opinion might just be because he's coming to it with complete ignorance, and that wouldn't fly as well for me. So, because I wouldn't be coming to it with complete ignorance. And I wouldn't even say that he had a glowing review. So if this is a toilet, then this brown frog down here is not a brown frog. Just saying. I kind of prefer the neutral views on these things a little bit more, because there's so many people that are out there right now saying like, oh, it's the worst thing ever, and it's and you get all the clickbait headlines that saying how bad it is, but so, like, to me that's just a lot of noise. If they didn't call it Tolkien, it would be your average modern product, but watchable. The writing is horrible, but the visuals are good. Are there interesting action sequences? Because that's something I've heard like nothing about. I've heard a lot of noise about a single action sequence that happens, which is elves fighting an ice troll. And then I have heard nothing else. Like, what are the battle sequences like? Are they any good? Because that's one of the things that was so good about the Jackson films as well, was not just, obviously a good story being based very, very much so on the actual books, but also, really, really well done action sequences that, for the most part, are infinitely rewatchable. But I've heard nothing. I've heard the visuals are good, but like action sequences, anything. Yeah, all I've heard is like writing is bad, visuals are good. I've also been curious whether or not there will be any Lego licensing opportunities that may come from it, but I'm a little bit worried that it's just going to be so poorly received that everyone's going to give up. Not a lot of action so far. The story's not Tolkien other than the names. Not a lot of action. How many episodes are out now? 5, 6? Quite a few episodes out now, right? How is there not something to help drive the watchability of it? I mean, to be fair, if the writing was good and it was very Tolkien-centric, you could get away with that, in my opinion. You'd have a lot of really interesting, potentially a lot of really interesting things, but knowing that it doesn't have a lot of Tolkien going for it, you'd think they'd have to have something. A lot of talking isn't going to get you very far, I wouldn't think. Unless the dialogue was very good, but if the writing is bad, then you got a problem. All right. All right, that is bag 21. So let's get bag 22 up in here. And bag 22 is a single bag. Now, there's a sub bag in it, though. It just seems a shame to have spent that much money and time developing a Lord of the Rings IP type product and not doing anything with it. I find it just, I honestly find it a little bit hard to believe that it's not good at all. Like, there has to be something redeeming, but again, I just don't know that I say that, but then I am not the one watching it because I'm not willing to even take the risk of wasting my time and being frustrated by it. Who knows, maybe the last couple episodes will completely redeem it somehow. Maybe it's a super slow burn. And then everyone's going to say, oh no, you need to watch it, it's amazing. You just have to get through the first 18 episodes of season 1 and half of season 2 or whatever. Matthias, you didn't expect this castle to be so complex. Yeah, it's a... This build is very, very, very intricate, and it's got a lot of really interesting build techniques. That's why when they announced it, I was incredibly excited to get this kit. I really like the 3-in-1 castle that I did on stream about 4 or 5 months ago. But this one, I mean, it blows everything out of the water. 5 or 6 episodes currently. So again, maybe the 7th and 8th episodes will be absolutely amazing and will change everyone's opinion on it. Who knows? I've heard that the Cassian Andor Star Wars show is really good. Like, maybe not quite Mandalorian Season 1, but it's supposed to be pretty good like that. And that's interesting to hear. Because I would have thought no one would have cared about that. But You know, if you actually have a halfway decent character, and he had a good actor playing Cassian, just a terrible movie that he was playing a character for. Actually, it wasn't that bad a movie. Rogue One was okay on the first watch. It was subsequent watches that it struggles. That's one that just doesn't hold up the more you watch it. I actually thought I kind of liked it the first time, and then I watched it a second time and was like, nope, I'm done. We'll never watch it again. That slow burn you mentioned sounds like someone trying to convince someone else to play Final Fantasy. You know, except when you play Final Fantasy games, that slow burn ends up being true and it ends up being really good. Of course, I'm the outlier type who likes Final Fantasy VIII and not really many of the other Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy VIII was my favorite Final Fantasy game. Changed my mind. I couldn't get into a lot of the other ones after playing it. I'm just not a fan of 9. I don't like the weird art style that 7 and 9 had. And then you got into 10 and it was this really weird, very modern, ultra realistic look. There's something about 8 that just kind of hit a perfect balance for me. And I really liked the kind of weird symbolism of everything, where you had the mercenaries that were the seeds, and they were trained in the gardens, and then you had a summon that was called Eden, which was one of the training gardens, and so you had the Garden of Eden, and there was like all this really weird, interesting, complex stuff that was never really relevant to the plot, but it was there as very, very, very good set dressing. Do I remember Chrono Trigger? Oh yeah, one of the best, and some incredible music. Final Fantasy VIII was like a transition for you. Well, I'll say Final Fantasy VIII easily has the best video game soundtrack of all time. I would struggle to find any video game soundtrack that I would prefer to listen to more. There are certain songs from certain soundtracks that, of course, are timeless and I really love, but Final Fantasy VIII was an absolutely incredible feat of musical achievement on the part of Nobuo Uematsu. And I had the honor, as it were, I attended a Final Fantasy concert. Your wife and you are outliers since we hit it. No, I think a lot of people hate Final Fantasy. I think it's a genre that some people like, but it's okay to not like it, in my opinion. But I went to a Final Fantasy concert where probably 75% of the music was from Final Fantasy VIII, and they surprised everyone with an appearance by Nobuo Uematsu. So, everyone was there to just listen. I was the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra was doing Final Fantasy, and Nobuo Uematsu showed up as a special guest. And I had bought like the Supreme VIP type tickets to get the best seats in the house and all that. And that came with the ability to meet some orchestra members and like the arrangers and all that. Well, then you also got to meet Nobuo Uematsu. So I got to actually get a music book, a Final Fantasy VIII music book signed by Nobuo Uematsu, which was really cool. So one of my, I'm not a big celebrity type person. Celebrities that I appreciate are people that I'd want to have a signature on. Tend to be people that I actually care about their work and their contribution to something. And having Nobuo Uematsu's signature on an actual music book of Final Fantasy VIII is really cool. One of my prized collection pieces. What you've meant by transition stories, Final Fantasy VIII felt more serious than Final Fantasy VII or 10. Honestly, it felt more serious than Final Fantasy 9. And realistically, I think it's probably to date still the most serious Final Fantasy story. It has it's very basic comedy, if any, and it's mostly kind of a slapstick thing. But the interactions of the characters I thought were really interesting. Um, and the characters you got to play as, broadly speaking, were all very interesting as well. I did figure out the most overpowered combination, though, which I'll get to in a moment. But I'll finish my story of signatures and all that. The only other signed piece of anything that I have that like I value in the same way is I have a signed script, a copy of a script of the Lord of the Rings film signed by the entire cast. So everyone, Peter Jackson as well, and Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyan. Basically, everyone who is involved in the production in terms of big names, I have that signed. That was given to me for a Christmas gift by my father. I also have a couple of original props from movies and whatnot that I really like. But in terms of signatures, like I don't fanboy over celebrities. I think even if I were to meet many of the celebrities from my favorite films, I'd be like, okay, you're a person, whatever. But having their signatures kind of it's meaningful in that I really do appreciate those films and they mean a lot to me. But as far as Final Fantasy VIII is concerned, the most overpowered combination. So you really never need anyone other than Rinoa, Squall, Rinoa, and Zell. And what I would do is you can get Zell because he's kind of the quick beater type character. You equip him with the magic of triple, and you equip Rinoa with the magic of aura. And aura basically creates a immediate limit breaker opportunity for any character, and triples the effect of any magic that's cast. So what you do, and they're not that hard to get as far as the magics are concerned. You can actually build a pretty decent. Wow. I'm sorry, I'm watching the Braves game, and the pitcher Bryce Elder just played an entire 9-inning game, and it's a shutout game, 8-0. Not a. He's a Braves rookie. He's not. It wasn't a perfect game, but it was an incredible game. Incredible pitching game. Anyway, many people cannot separate celebrities, distinguishing between their persona and their work. Yeah, it's very true, and you kind of have to do that today because so many celebrities are just awful people, but they're really talented, right? You can have talented people who are awful, and I think some people really struggle with that concept. It's like they can't separate those things. But yeah, so what I would do, and the setup for this Final Fantasy VIII Magic setup was perfect, especially if you had the top tier Grievous weapon for Squall, because Squall's limit breaker was incredibly overpowered. And so you would cast triple with Zell on Rinoa, and Rinoa's next move would triple whatever it was. And you had two options. One is if you took damage to the team that was significant enough you needed to heal, you could just use Rinoa's heal move, and it would heal all three of your team members. But ideally, you've got enough of a jump on the enemy that you will instead cast Aura, and you'll get limit breakers on everyone, which means that Zell's limit breaker's okay. It's not the best. Renoa's is like a massive heal for everyone, if I'm not mistaken. And so then, like, the next time Renoa gets to go, you're going to get a heal basically no matter what, and it's going to be for everyone. Big heal. But then Squall's Limit Breaker kicks in, and if you have his top tier weapon, it's this overly long Limit Breaker where he is hitting for like 9,999 each strike, and he strikes like 100 times. And the funny story basically is I had a friend who he beat Final Fantasy VIII using a Game Genie code, and he gave himself invincibility, but he had never really played the game a lot. And so the way he beat the game was with like 2 hours of using summons on the final boss. And because he couldn't die, he was just slowly chipping away. But he had also not like sought out the best weapons. He hadn't developed really good strategies, any of that kind of thing. And so when I got around to beating the game, which was about a year after he did, I was actually on the phone with him, just talking to him casually, back when, that's what you did, because you didn't really have as much online presence for everything. I was talking on the phone to him. I said, yeah, I'm actually at the end of the game right now. He was like, oh, well, good luck doing it in a no-cheat way. And I was like, yeah, well, we're going to see, because I think I got a pretty good setup here. And while I was on the phone with him, probably within 2 minutes, I beat that final boss. Because that combination of triple to aura and then using Squall's Limit Breaker with the best weapon, you basically just, it's melting your enemies in that game. And he was like, what do you mean you beat that already? It's only been 2 minutes we've been on the phone. And it was really, really awesome to beat that game in that way. Zell was not my favorite character. So Renoa and Squall, you kind of feel almost obligated to have those two characters as your primary party. Like the way the plot is designed, all the elements of those characters, and because the relationship of those two characters is basically the entirety of the story, it feels wrong to not have them. And there are moments in the game where, of course, you have to get other characters in. But Zell was not my favorite. I really actually liked Irvine as a character, but he wasn't kind of like a sniper character, and I think his speed was a good bit slower. He did really high burst damage. And I really liked his character. I liked the way he looked. I liked, kind of cowboy duster look. Yeah, so anyway. Sounds like this strategy can turn into a habit quite easily. Are there other games you can adapt it to? That strategy of, like, building... Yes, like, honestly, there's a... is a great management speak term, but synergy. Look for synergy builds in anything you play that is stat driven or RPG driven. That's always my recommendation. That way of thinking definitely worked for Final Fantasy. For me, the game The Secret World, which is one of my favorite MMOs of all time, the original version of it was built entirely off the concepts of synergy, so much so that they actually called their system like the synergy system, and synergizing your skills was a really big piece of it. And the way that game worked is you had 2 weapons for every build, and the weapon options were I think it was swords, axe, and there's another melee type thing. I want to say it was just like fists or something like that, but I don't think that's right. Swords and axes, something else. Then you had shotguns, pistols, and rifles. And then you had blood magic. What were the magics? I don't remember. It was like Light, Dark, and Blood or something, but um, I think one was called Chaos. I didn't use the magic a lot. Um, but the weapons and the magic were designed to synergize in a certain way. So you do this thing like you would use, like, let's say axe and shotgun as a build. And it was a kind of tank build where you'd go in and you'd use the axe to chop down the defenses of your enemy. And then you would use the shotgun to do one big, massive blast of damage. And equipping things like the axe put it into like a tank style build. Whereas if you did pistols and rifle, then pistols added debuffs that then you could take advantage of with the rifles. But those debuffs could do other things, and there were all sorts of debuffs, and you could channel all these things in different ways. But the idea of any build you did was not just to synergize for yourself, but also potentially build group synergy, where you'd say, okay, I'm going to have this. The tank of the group is going to have this synergy build that's going to apply a lot of like bleeds to an enemy, let's say. And even though that player may not be able to take advantage of the bleeds, maybe one of their DPS-driven characters had a build that could. And you would just kind of build not only yourself, but your team around what you were trying to achieve. And that way of thinking is really, really, really important for RPG-driven, that kind of stat-driven type of game. And being able to pay attention to, like, how debuffs work in a game and what the impact is, and look for those keywords. And then I applied that same level of thinking to my character in Lord of the Rings Online, which I've talked about before on stream, where I basically made myself into not only a tank, but also a DPS character rolled into one, so I could do massive amounts of AoE damage and keep myself healed and healthy as a tank on my primary guardian. And being able to do that kind of thing, part of that was driven out of the fact that I had just really studied what the skills allowed for and what my options were. And so that's how you kind of apply that way of thinking, just generically. And it really works when you really pay close attention and kind of play the details of the game. And the reality is some games are designed with that in mind. Like, you're actually doing what the dev intended. Some games, though, it's a glitch, it's a bug, right? Like, you're taking advantage of something that the developers may not have considered. And the thing that I did in Final Fantasy VIII, oddly enough, I've never actually seen anyone mention that strategy. So I kind of feel like I stumbled upon something that isn't exactly the norm, as it were. If you want a funny RPG, try Wasteland 3 after the kids go to bed. Yeah, games that have good, clever writing, especially the Wasteland and Fallout games have a lot of that, both humorous and serious at the same time. Very hard balance to strike, certainly. Let's see, a perfect armory, plenty of space for weapons. Now to find a spot for my staff. I love looking for synergies, but it does really require you to pay really close attention to the mechanics of a game. And I'll be honest, sometimes there just isn't time for that. You don't have the time to spend hours playing a game to find all the little details that are going to come together to make the perfect build, as it were. That's always been my problem with the game The Division. I love that game. I like playing it, but to really play around with everything, I'd have to spend a lot more time. And so what I do in The Division is I build really good solo builds, because that's how I tend to play the game anyway. And only a few times does that really backfire, and that's usually where they are trying to make you play the game a certain way that you're maybe not really trying to. But alright, I'm a little bit worried that I've missed a spot for a couple pieces here, because yeah, I need to go back, see where I missed. I've got a couple of rounded top pieces that I don't think I set properly. I think they're right here on this front part. Yes. Just, no. Where? Just above the shields, right? Yeah. Somehow I missed those. Put those in. This is really beginning to come together. This mechanism for the gate piece isn't really... I think it's going to be one of the last things I do. But if I lift that up, kind of set it there for a moment, you can begin to see how all this is going to really going to come together at some point. Turn this around, find that way here. This comes over here. And that's what this kind of looks like. It's kind of hard to show everyone. But we will do this. Not screen share, building Lego 2. There we go. Go to this mode. So, this castle, especially from the top down, you can see just how, let me turn this the right way, here we go, just how big it is, how complex, and all of this here is still going to be built up, so it's not even at its full height yet for this piece. And the insides are getting a lot more complex. Oops, I think I accidentally put these things together. Didn't mean to. But now we've got these kind of banner-laden armory sections both here, and you got some armory stuff up here. You got this little toilet, the sprig of something to make it smell better, and the outside of that toilet right here has the hole for things to drop out of, and down at the bottom you have a brown frog, which is maybe originally a green frog, or maybe it's supposed to represent something else. You got this gate that operates off of a crank, which is cool. A lot of stuff. I feel like there should be a cap to that. I wonder if there is. Let's go look at the... I'm going to scroll back in the instructions. Kind of feels like there should be. Might have missed a piece. Where I put that gate in is where I can look. It's not going to show me. So I have to scroll all the way back to where I built those stairs, which are going to be way up here. See if I can find it. Wherever that green or that brown frog is might give me a... They keep showing this one side of the castle, so I got to go back a ways. So I'm just kind of, I know the screen is just kind of staring. I'm quickly going through these instructions to see if I can figure out if a piece is missing, but I feel like it has to be that I have failed to put a little piece in. Here, I'll just do this so everyone can see what I'm actually doing here, even though it's not super interesting. So, right here, I seem to have this little spot that I feel like should have been capped off. I might do it even if the instructions don't say to, because I feel like it would just look better. But I think if I scroll back and look at when I built those stairs, it was really early on in this process. I might find... No, they're supposed to be like that. That's really weird. I wonder why they left that open. Anyway, that's how it's coming thus far, though. It's really starting to come together here. It's definitely very big, very complicated. Looks really nice. Got a lot of good detailing everywhere. So, yeah, let's see. Ty says, this reminds me of the time I built a character in a MOBA. It was originally supposed to support buff, but turned into a fast tank like a bullet. You like the colors they chose for this castle model? Yeah, they went with a lot of gray, obviously, and for obvious reasons. That was our customary bag number 2. Now, I cheated for the minifigure bag opening here. I did the field test, and what I'm feeling here is a bar piece that is a little bit longer than this piece. So this is a bar, and I can feel it in here. And I believe that that is the bar piece for this, because no other characters have a bar piece. Now you have a character with a candy cane and a character with a broom, but that would have a curve on top, and that would have the broom head. So I did cheat. I did this ahead of time because I really want this knight character minifigure, but I believe that's what is in here. So I'm going to open it up and see if I'm correct. And yes, I am. So I did cheat. I didn't do it completely random. I did get the one that I really wanted. So put it together. This is a very direct callback to the original Lego castle set. So it felt absolutely necessary to get this minifigure. And this is a little kid playing dress up is the concept of this well, it's not always little kids, but the theme of this minifigure series is dress up. And so this is a little kid wearing a knight costume is what this is. And that's why the little kid has a hobby horse. And not a, that it's using. The kid is using. So here's the little piece I was feeling. There were actually 2 of them, red ones. I thought I was actually longer, but it ended up being the exact same size as that gold one that I used as the example. If you collect Lego minifigures, and especially if you do the blind bag ones, you need to learn the field test concept. It would have been quite awkward if it was the candy cane. It wasn't going to be. I'm pretty good at the field test. Yeah, it's much like the horses in Monty Python, exactly. I'm really, really quite good at the field test that they do, or that you can do. I've put enough hands on Lego pieces to know what a Lego piece feels like, and get not a good equivalent, but kind of like how a blind person can feel someone's face and get an idea of what they look like. Time using or time dealing with the thing breeds familiarity. But what's cool about this is this minifigure has, so here she is. It's a little girl. That's why she's got pink. And there's the shield. And this shield is the original logo, or the original crest of the very first knight theme, the very first castle theme that Lego ever did. And if I open up the first half that we did, right here, so this is the first half of the castle. We go to this dining room. There it is right there in the center, that little crown crest. And so that little crown crest is also what is on this minifigure right here, on the chest as well as the shield. Right? And then if I go pull up the original, I think it was 1977 Lego castle. Pull that up. Put that on the screen. You can see, hopefully it'll show up. You can see, you can see that little logo right there. So that's the original castle theme. And they've done all these references. And they were aligning this theme, obviously, with the release of the castle, and the castle was part of the 90th anniversary. So all of this was done very, very intentionally. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this little black piece right here. So I'm gonna modify here. I'm gonna modify my my minifigure, so it's not going to be a pure thing, but I can set her to one side. I'll do this side of the stand. I'm going to take this little black piece. It's round plate piece with a hole in it, and that hole will allow me to set this hobby horse standing up next to her so she can hold her shield. Bam. There is how I would display the character. Get it in frame. So there we go. I wanted that one. I wanted to make sure I got that one, so I cheated. Now I'm going to add it to my collection. There we go. Yeah, this is nice attention to detail, and it has a nice sense of continuity. This whole set is all about the continuity. I'm not sure. I have to go look somewhere. I'm not sure how many references that they will ultimately make, but I can tell you that you've got, for this year, talking about the castle theme, which there isn't really even a castle theme right now at Lego. There's just this minifigure, and there is this Lego castle theme, and there is the gift with purchase hideout that I already built. But if I take like these knights and this wizard, so you're getting kind of across the board. You're getting references to the original castle theme, which you also have in the overall castle build. Oh, they're not quite lined up with the camera. You're getting the Knights build. If you even zoom in for this. Knights build, Forestman theme, original castle theme, and I don't remember which one Magisto was, but it was a later Knights, Lion Knights theme, I think. And there were kind of two iterations of that. So they're really making a lot of references this year to a theme that doesn't even currently exist. I really can't wait for them to actually redo the castle theme and bring it back into prominence, because it really is one of the better themes, and Lego has grown up so much since the last time they've done this theme. Really any justice. Before this year, the only other time they had been doing castle stuff was a couple of years ago. They were doing the Nexo Knights theme, which was like a mix of cyberpunk and medieval designs. It actually worked kind of well. You had like clockwork robots, and the wizards were like techno wizards, so they appeared in like Tron-like digital grid type things, and whole thing was a very weird theme, and it kind of worked. It was tied into a TV show, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, honestly. So, hi there, average scooter. But yeah, I'm glad I got that minifigure. I've been.
Okay, so I have.
Oh dear! It's just suddenly playing YouTube videos. I clicked on the wrong tab. All right. Yeah. Very happy to have gotten that minifigure. Added to my collection. The next figure I'm gonna end up looking for. Let's see. I wouldn't mind the Nutcracker, because growing up every year for Christmas I'd get a Nutcracker. I actually have a collection of Nutcrackers, like really well crafted ones. I want the ship guy, the Titanic ship captain type guy. The rest of them I could take or leave, really. Popcorn guy is good. I can potentially use him for my drive-in theater. So if I get a second one of him, especially, I'd probably use him. So, but yeah, see ya. All right, have a good one, Matthias. Have a good night. We're gonna be wrapping up the stream here soon. Anyway, I started early. I'll be ending early. But yeah, Nutcracker is kind of a classic piece of, Christmas decorations as far as I'm concerned. It's a big regular thing for a big iconic thing for Christmas for my family. So now I need 50 more nights. Yeah, I could get them. I have a plan for how I'm going to review this kit based on what I know about it thus far. And I think most of the secrets of this kit have already come to light at this point. I do know a couple things about what was going to be contained in it that I knew I'd reference, but in a review anyway. And there are going to be Black Falcon. That is one. I was pretty sure there were going to be some of the enemy knights. There's going to be like an envoy of the enemy knights. So you get the Lion Knights, which are one of the castles are, the Black Falcons, which are the rival faction, and then the Forest Guardians, or the Forest Men, which are kind of the Robin Hood theme that are present in all of this, echoing back to some of the original stuff. But I one of the things I know that's missing in this castle build is a king. They have a queen character, but they don't have a king. And so I actually went and purchased a king minifigure of the Lion Knights theme to add to it eventually. Average Scooter. Okay, so Average Scooter, thought you would come and support another Lego YouTuber. All right, so you're here. You're calling me a Lego YouTuber, which is interesting, which means you don't know what my channel was before, is what that sounds like. Or maybe you do. I'm curious. First off, I'm going to look up your YouTube channel now. If I can. How did you find this stream, out of curiosity? I'm not sure if I'm actually finding... Oh, the Average Scooter is actually a Scooter the Muppet. All right. Sorry, I couldn't tell what your in the chat. I couldn't tell what your avatar was, your profile picture, but looking up your channel, I see that now. And you are a Lego channel. So interesting. I'm wondering if my live streams are actually hitting the algorithm finally. That's interesting. So My channel originally was about medieval things and historical European martial arts and swords. But I wanted to expand out into my other areas of interest, one of which is Lego. So it's interesting. Oh, thank you for the subscription there, Scooter. I appreciate it. I am actually I'm not strictly Lego. It's really any building block things. Obviously, Lego is the preeminent one and the one that I do the most of. Um, I'm in the process of rebranding to an extent, so this channel is just now named after me. But before it was called Medieval Review. But as bridging the gap between medieval topics and Lego topics, I'm building this castle for one on live stream, and I'll do a review of it eventually. But I've also been contacted by third party, off brand Lego companies to do some reviews of their Lego, their, or not Lego, their building block kits that are that are licensed kits coming from Rebrickable. Um, and so, you can expect that my channel will eventually have more Lego theming type things to it. Lego is just kind of what I used for the branding, as well as, again, a topic of interest, but it's not always limited to it. I mean, the most recent video I posted was about a Tom Clancy video game, so it can really be any topic, but very interesting. It's very interesting that you have stumbled across my channel, because that would be an indication, the first indication I've seen thus far, that the algorithm is picking this channel up for more than its original thing, which is interesting. I'm not talking about sharp, pointy things, so YouTube is promoting me now. Yeah, well, I feel like, generally speaking, sword channels have actually always done fairly well on YouTube. It's firearms that you can't talk about, for the most part, these days. But yeah, that's really cool. And Scooter, I'll take a look at your channel as well. I tend to keep to my own in terms of, or keep to myself in terms of watching other channels and whatnot. But yeah, the first thing you saw in your recommendations, interesting. Very interesting. Huh. Well, sounds like I need to start taking advantage of that. Good channel building stuff says once you know that something is happening, you kind of double down on it. So I will look at what's going on there. That's very interesting. So thank you for stopping by and letting me know that. That's really cool. What other YouTube Lego channels do you follow, Scooter? Curious. Because I tend to mostly watch other Lego YouTube channels to just get a digest of upcoming sets, for the most part. And sets I really care about, I actually don't watch Lego review videos, because I don't want to have the build experience or the contents of the model ruined for me, generally speaking. Which is what I have experienced in the past watching review videos. Too many. All right. Well, that's awesome. Or things that get you banned off of YouTube: knives, firearms, politics, right of linen, etc. TD Bricks, okay. Yeah, I've seen his channel. Sure, Edwin, by all means, recommend the Lego YouTube channel. By the way, recommend YouTube channels in general. Like, I'm always interested in what other creators are doing and finding new things. I was just, speaking of findability and algorithm and all that, I was just listening to, there's been a lot of drama over on Twitch recently, and it's been enough that I've been catching up on it, and I'm not really been paying that much attention to that type of thing. But Twitch as a platform is apparently really struggling, and I've talked before on the stream about how much I like the Twitch community integration. And M&R Productions, yeah, like M&R and Brixie and Ash and Flash, like they're Teague Carino. A lot of those guys are the really big ones. Sorry, of Lego YouTube channels. But there's been a lot of Twitch on it. I've often said, like, I like the integration of the chat and the way that the community features are built. But a lot of people are saying that YouTube's streaming is actually much, much better for so many things other than that. Like, the chat integration is not great, especially when you have lots of people watching the videos and do things. One of the big things that I've been hearing about, and I know that I heard it from the YouTube streamer Ludwig, because he kind of talked about it, and I've been researching because I wanted to understand how I could have findability like this happen, is that findability on Twitch is basically non-existent. You could easily stream for like a month straight and have no one ever visit your stream. It's just luck of the draw. Like, you never know. But on YouTube, like, you will eventually get the recommendations, and people will find your stuff eventually. So I find it really interesting that it's starting to happen, right? I did some streaming. I've been fairly consistent, although I didn't get everything done that I wanted to do last week. And so to see it actually start to catch hold is really awesome. And so that's a little bit exciting. As someone who, you know, I try to just kind of do my own thing, things I enjoy. But when you get the opportunity to be found online, it is exciting because it does feel like the channel is going to build up a little bit. So yeah, M&R Productions is a good recommended. Yeah, and I've watched M&R stuff. All right, Scooter, have a good one. Dr. Scorpion X makes Bionicle Transformers. Interesting. I have to look that up. I'm not big into Bionicle, but I could look that up. I like transforming toys. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you'll join for more streams. Just as an FYI, the other thing I'm doing on streams right now is doing some stud.io design work. So I'm actually building sets from scratch, doing the design. So that might be also of interest to you if you just like Lego stuff in general. Well, that's really cool. I'm excited to see more people show up from, you know, the broad cloud of YouTube, and not just the poor souls that have been potentially dragged kicking and screaming away from the sharp pointy sword objects to the sharp pointy brick objects that Legos are, from the original channel. So before I close it out tonight, I'll give you guys a sneak peek. I didn't think I would do it on stream, but you know what? Why not? Because now we got people on. Here's my sneak peek of the thing that I'm going to be doing a build and review of. It's just a printed out photo on a nondescript box, but a little Viking longhouse of sorts. That's all you're going to get to see until I build it and do a video on it. But I'm looking forward to doing that. It looks pretty interesting. And I actually reached out to the designer of it to talk to him for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to make sure that everything was above board in terms of accepting a kit from a company. I wouldn't want to do that if they steal the designs. I wouldn't want to promote potentially companies that are stealing designs from other people. But they are actually licensed designs, and the original designer of that gets a kickback, gets paid a little bit, and he actually said he's been treated quite well by the company. So I'll be building that and then doing a review of it in the not too distant future. So all right, by the way, that was really A good way to kind of end the stream. Really, just very exciting to suddenly see, suddenly see an outside uh, viewer. Really, it's very exciting. Edwin, what do you mean they're in the making of a Lego Avengers movie? You talking about the Bionicle Transformers thing? What are you referencing? Sorry, I may have missed something, or you might be keying off of something that I'm not aware of. But yeah, no, that was super exciting. Just from a live stream perspective, I started off this stream with one person watching the first 20, 30 minutes of it, which is the staple of these live streams for the most part, which is Wyoming. Wyoming is just about on every single stream, which is really cool and very much appreciated. But to see someone come in from the outside is super exciting. So that's to be celebrated. Let's celebrate. Let's open another minifigure. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to feel it. That is a box. That is a actual crate type box. I can feel that going right in, which means it is probably this reindeer. So I'm going to open up this reindeer. Oh, okay. So they make... I see. They are making a Lego Avengers, like a non-licensed Lego movie. Gotcha. That's cool. I'll have to check it out. Are they doing it as a 3D feature, or are they doing it as actual stop motion? Yep, I was right. There's the reindeer. That's the awesome thing about the Lego movies, is that they were done with CGI, but it was just everything looks so real. With little gingerbread hearts, this little reindeer. There we go. That's my celebration of having a non-sword person showing up on the stream. As far as I know, the first time that's happened. Got this little reindeer character. But all that said, and that excitement for me as an individual, I do want to extend the big thank you to all of the awesome people that joined this live stream, even though your biggest interest is probably not Lego. That actually means a great deal to me as well. So know that you are valued as a community member and as a viewer. And speaking of which, again, I said it at the beginning, but I'll kind of reiterate it here. I'm going to be working on custom emotes and things for chat as well, and doing some of that type of stuff. So hopefully that'll go easily. If you have any ideas of what you want to see in terms of custom emotes, let me know. I have a couple of ideas, but not a ton. So I'll probably do a pommel throw emote as one of them. Probably do just a medieval review logo type thing. We'll see. You wonder if Lego is making an Avengers movie of Lego. Yeah, they're not. They actually do have Lego Avengers like short films and things that are on like Netflix and other things, but not at the same quality as the actual Lego movie or the Ninjago or the Batman one. Lego Batman is, to me, it's insane that one ever got made. Honestly, especially where we are today, where the Warner Brothers DC Lego relationship has basically, for all intents and purposes, has fallen apart. They only have minimal Lego sets now. They did the 1960s Batmobile. They did some of the cowls over the past couple of years. But this year there's only like one kit, and then the other thing was the Batman. But they have done nothing with any of the rest of the DC licenses at this point. Really crazy. Well, anyway, everyone, I'm going to call it quits there. I'm actually going to go work on building this kit for review. And next live stream I will be doing will be tomorrow night. I plan on getting back up here tomorrow night and doing more of this castle. We've only got a couple more bags to go. We are down to bag. What bag are we on? I don't even know. I think we're bag 23, so I think there's only 3 more bags left beyond that. So it should be 2 more live streams, I believe, is what's going to be left. Let's see. Nope. Yeah, 23. So bag 23 is the next bag. 23, 24 will be the next stream. Stream after that will be 25, 26, and then the castle will be complete. And then the rest of the live streams probably go to design stuff on stud.io for a while. So, all right, everyone. Have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.